The first match we're going to be discussing is Dolph Ziggler versus John Morrison for the United States Championship. Dolph Ziggler gets the win with a zigzag.
Well, we already know President John Morrison, Mark. And, if you watched the after show a couple of weeks ago, I did a segment called The 5 Stages of Grief for John Morrison fans. If you're still holding on to false hope that John Morrison will stay in the WWE, then, hey, more power to you. But we all know what's going to happen on Monday. Brodus Clay is going to come in, run the train on Morrison, and bye-bye, Morrison will be future endeavored. It sucks because Morrison showed on Survivor Series how good of a wrestler he is. Excellent, excellent fight. Even though the crowd was chanting, "We want Ryder," I was marking out for him. I took out my cell phone, recorded me marking out for him. But it didn't matter because I was the only one doing that for him. Clearly the IWC hates him for what happened with Ryder. But with the whole situation, to be honest, I see bigger and better things for Ziggler in WWE, and for Morrison, I see bigger and better things for him in TNA. It's just, this is not going to work. This is like giving him a mid-card push is putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound for him. He's not going to go anywhere if you keep taking the rug from off of him after a push, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
I thought this match was a great way to start the show. This had the hot crowd. Unfortunately, the hot crowd was for Ryder, who wasn't in the match. This was fun. It had some great spots. The one spot that sticks out to me was the way Ziggler locked in the sleeper hold that one time. That really got me into it. This ended with a 3.5 and a very fun way to start off the show.
I think WWE had no choice but to start off the show with this match, because had they not, we would have gotten Zack Ryder chants all throughout the damn night. So WWE, they had to start off the show with this match. But speaking of the match, the story here wasn't even about the actual match. And on one hand, that is unfortunate because you had two guys who are amazingly talented in the ring and they're capable of pulling off a good match. But as I said on last week's show, there wasn't enough storyline excitement between Ziggler and Morrison for them to reel me in. Zack Ryder, with his constant presence throughout the match, he definitely added that and tons more. And with that in mind, Ziggler, he did great during the match by antagonizing the crowd with Ryder's fist bump and getting heat for himself. But, man, I feel bad for John Morrison. Like, I was just shaking my head when I was, in the arena watching the match. Even if he's going to lose, he's put into matches like that to get pops from the crowd when he does his crazy spots. But this time around, every time he moved, the crowd booed the hell out of him. It was a pretty bad spot for him to be in, seeing as if it was anyone in that spot who wasn't Zack Ryder, they were going to get booed. And, of course, the crowd, they erupted when Zack Ryder came out after the match and cleaned house. It was a great moment to be part of, and it was the highlight of everything relating to the U.S. title match.
To be honest, I don't understand the whole point in putting John Morrison in that match. I mean, he was going to be jobbed out. Why not have Zack Ryder in the match, win the U.S. title, loses it back the next night, whatever. Get the pop from him, because John Morrison, it's obvious he's on his way out. So what was the point in having him do the job there, What a waste.
Maybe WWE, and I don't like to be cynical like this and, try to look at their motives, but maybe WWE knew exactly the position that they were going to be in. Like I just said, anybody who was placed in that match, they were going to be booed simply because they were not Zack Ryder. Maybe WWE had that in mind when they put John Morrison in that match, and they wanted him to be in that position. That's just a thought.
Well, all I have to say is, what's Johnny Hennigan doing in the Impact Zone?
I think that I kind of think they did this to get cheap heat on John Laurinaitis, because they had him come out and do his little promo thing, which I don't know what was going on there. Definitely not needed.
You know how much I booed him, man? I almost lost my voice before the match started.
And that's funny. Booing him would end up making you sound like him.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to move on to the Divas title. It was on the line next in the second bout of the night when Eve Torres faced Beth Phoenix, the champ, in a Lumberjill match. Beth wins and retains with a super glam slam.
Well, I will tell you my whole story with this match. It's absolutely hilarious. This shows you the state of the Divas division. I had a more interesting trip to the bathroom than the Divas match, but more on that in the after show. You'll have to download the show afterwards. But anyway, the Divas match, I came back from the bathroom. They were still fighting, which is absolutely a record for them. I guess it went over 5 minutes this time. But it did have a very cool finish. Beth hits the glam slam off the top rope or middle rope, whatever it was. And, it got a cheap pop from the crowd. I kind of marked for it because I've never seen anything like that from the Divas division. But after Eve Torres, who's the next girl to face Beth? I'm not really too excited because it's either Kelly again or Eve. They don't have too many other faces who are credible. I'm a huge fan of Eve Torres, as you know. It's my woman, but I'm moving on. I'll admit I slipped up, and me and AJ have a thing going on, so maybe I'll see if I can get her a push. But I'm not interested in the Divas division. It's just too sad. That's saying something. I had a more interesting trip to the bathroom. Damn.
By the way, David, that was an excellent promo for the after show. But what did you think about the match, Charlie?
First of all, why was this a Lumberjill match? Because half these people, I didn't even know who they were. Were they from NXT or something? Because I don't know what was going on.
Some of them.
So none of them get heat, which means that, you completely kill it. And then they have a typical bad Divas match with a cool ending and ended with a 1.5, and Beth retains whoop-de-doo.
She cried, fake tears, obviously, and it really didn't matter because it reminds me of a Ring of Honor show. You're kind of a world champion. You're crying in the middle of the ring, and believe me, I'd get emotional too winning my first world title, but you're in a bingo hall, like no one really cared that she picked up the victory. She looked kind of stupid, to be honest. Her face on the Titantron, all happy and stuff, but no one gave a damn.
The Ring of Honor title is twice as prestigious as the freaking WWE title, so don't even get me started with that.
Well, now that Punk has won the belt, maybe he'll get some credibility. I can see him holding the belt for a long time, but, it's kind of too late.
Well, I thought the whole Lumberjill edition was so unnecessary. I don't think it added anything to the match at all. And except for the ending of the match, I don't think the match itself added anything to the show. The Divas division is just so utterly basic right now, and it isn't showing any signs of improvement. Moving on to the next match of the night, traditional Survivor Series match that was up next, Team Barrett versus Team Orton. Team Barrett wins by pinning Randy Orton, as Barrett himself and Cody Rhodes were the only survivors.
Randy Orton, I will tell you right now. As far as who I mark for, I'm a big mark for John Morrison, obviously. He's on the Raw brand, but I also mark for Randy Orton. He's actually on my favorite show, SmackDown. So, obviously I marked out a lot for him when he came out, and surprisingly, people didn't boo him. All the hate he gets here on the IWC, I was expecting it to translate into the actual TV show, but he got a decent pop. And, I don't know how well it translated on the TV, but from what I heard, he got probably the second, I would say the third best pop of the night behind Ryder and The Rock. But he got a very good pop tonight. Great showing. Awesome RKO. Only thing that made me cringe, I was about to get something to eat, and then I saw Sin Cara tear his ACL. I thought he broke his neck and was dead because girls were screaming right next to him. Hope he's okay. That kind of messed up the match, too, because they looked like they didn't even know what they were going to do later on. But, hopefully Sin Cara's okay. He did get surgery. But, it's very unfortunate, actually, for Sin Cara. He was actually more interesting than the match for a bad reason. It's almost like that white outfit is cursed. Whenever he wears that outfit, something bad happens to him. But anyway, hopefully he'll be okay. Great spots with Randy Orton, hit the RKO on Hunico. If you guys don't know who that is, watch SmackDown. I guarantee you it's a lot better than Raw. Wade Barrett looked like a champ. Cody Rhodes was getting great pops, even though he was a heel. He looked like a champ. Mason Ryan got some steroids chants from us, obviously. He did okay, but seeing him live is a lot worse than seeing him on TV, trust me. CGI probably couldn't help him, to be honest. But I liked the match. I got very excited. But it could have, had Sin Cara not getting hurt, it would have been a lot better.
Okay, first of all, Orton did not get a better pop than Punk, so don't even go there with the behind.
I said third, okay? I was actually there, okay? Jada, be honest. Didn't Orton get a good pop?
He did, but it was not third.
One was
Ryder,
Rock. Who was Rock?
Rock, Punk, and Ryder.
Yeah,
that was top three.
You're right.
And as far as the match goes, they really kind of killed this right out of the gate, especially the first two eliminations. You had Ziggler get eliminated, which killed the crowd. I thought that was really dumb. I don't know why Ziggler had to get eliminated so early. It didn't make sense. Sin Cara, I'm actually hearing he got hurt before he actually jumped. I don't know if he did it running off the ropes or something.
His knee buckled. He didn't get enough height for the jump either.
All I have to say about Sin Cara is he'll be in CMLL by next fall. Mason Ryan elimination. Thank God he got eliminated. I was really worried he was going to just run through the other team.
My section actually cheered for that.
Sheamus elimination. I like the idea of not having him get pinned, but they could have done it better. They could have had someone bring a chair in the ring. Sheamus, take him out and use the chair, and the referee kind of turns around and sees it right as he does it. Not this stupid 5 count stuff. Overall, the match was decent. They had a couple bad booking things for me that kind of killed the match. I gave it 2 3/4 stars. It was decent, a little bit fun, but they could have been a lot better.
We also have to remember with Ziggler being eliminated so early, he did have another match, a pretty high-impact match. It was the first one of the night, and also he wasn't even originally scheduled to be in the Survivor Series match. They had Christian in the place that Ziggler took, but with Christian's ankle injury or whatever, they had Ziggler in as a replacement. But for me, even more than I enjoyed the match, I loved the ending result. I thought it was a foregone conclusion that Team Orton would win. When you're facing people like Randy Orton and Sheamus, it's hard to bet against them. But in the end, the opposing team was victorious. WWE gets a lot of crap for the way they go about things, but they deserve props when it comes to this match. Charlie, I 100% disagree with you when you say, some booking things mess it up, because I thought that the match, it was on point from a quality perspective, in-ring quality, and also the booking. Sheamus, he gets eliminated from the match in a way that doesn't sacrifice his image nor the momentum that he's built up for himself. The young prospects, Wade Barrett and Cody Rhodes, get the win in the match after Barrett pinned Orton cleanly, and even though Orton lost, out of everybody in the match, he had the most eliminations, so everything went down the way it should, maybe except for Sin Cara's injury, but other than that, things worked out greatly.
Especially
further established a new hierarchy over on SmackDown.
Especially that spot with Kuniko. I'm so glad I got to see that up close. When you see an RKO like that up close, man, I get goosebumps. That looked great. And speaking of Kuniko, like I said before, you have to watch SmackDown, but probably half of you don't even watch it. But he did okay live.
And for an update on Sin Cara's injury, it has been said that he ruptured his patella tendon leading into the dive to the outside of the ring, and he will be out for 6 to 9 months. There's also a report out there that his brother stated on Facebook that he underwent surgery Tuesday, and everything went well, so best of luck to Sin Cara for a speedy recovery.
Well, maybe it was a blessing in disguise, so at least Rey Mysterio doesn't have to rush to come back for WrestleMania, so maybe they can have a nice little feud at SummerSlam and they'll really be 100%.
If he's not in Mexico by his return.
Oh, stop it. I feel bad.
Done. It's over. Nice try. Go where you belong.
Yeah, you don't have to imagine how many times can this guy be stalled. Like, he's gotten suspended for the WWE wellness policy, then you have this, and then there's like the numerous botches that he's had in his matches. Like, you have to wonder, when does the investment stop? Like, when do you realize that maybe this guy isn't exactly what we all planned him to be?
It's my fault. Whenever I want to see these guys live, whenever I buy a ticket to see WWE, Christian gets hurt, Edge gets hurt. When I wanted to see Edge Survivor Series, he was retired. I wanted to see Morrison, he's getting fired. It's my fault.
And by the way, speaking of the whole John Morrison thing, and you talked about the false hope, last week you did have a whole hell of a lot of false hope.
Yeah, I know. I tried. I mean, I thought it wouldn't make any sense to give him a nice storyline and a win. I guess they were trying to sweeten him up so he didn't go over TNA, but you know how that's going to work. Johnny Hennigan is the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion. That's going to be sad,
And it will probably be on TV instead of pay-per-view because they have no common sense over there.
Big Show versus Mark Henry with his World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Mark Henry loses a match but retains his title by way of a disqualification.
Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Big Show versus Mark Henry. I mean, the last match, I knew they weren't going to top their last match. But seeing this match, I don't know how bad it looked on TV once again. Things are a lot different when you're there live. But I don't know if you caught the chants there, but people were chanting Mae Young, D'Lo Brown, Sexual Chocolate, which was started by a couple of marks behind me. That was actually, the chants were more interesting than the actual fight. There was a nice spot when Mark Henry speared Big Show through the barricade, and hopefully J-Dub wasn't run over, but, But did they come anywhere near you?
Oh, no, that wasn't my section.
Oh, okay. Well, they nearly killed you last time. But anyway, there was only 2 memorable spots. When Big Show got on the top rope, I thought for sure the ring was going to break. And he looked like he was going to fall over backwards and become paralyzed, but thank God that didn't happen. But the match was so boring. It was bad. Everyone was screaming for Daniel Bryan to cash in. He should have cashed in, no matter how bad he's been looking recently. But, I didn't like the match except for the 2 spots, though. The chants were more interesting than the actual fight. That's a shame.
Yeah, I didn't like this match very much. First of all, I criticized this in the last match where they were doing kind of like technical work, and it doesn't work with the Big Show, Mark Henry, because we know they're not technical wrestlers. This match to me was if you take the first half of their last match and just get rid of all the good stuff that happened at the end, you get this match. This was a 1 3/4 star. They did build to a future match. Lord knows what that's going to be. Probably like a tables match or something, so we don't actually have to have someone get pinned in this feud and everybody comes out looking good. But overall, the match was not very good.
Well, I didn't think this was a bad match per se. It did start out really slow, and that may have been a mistake, seeing as anything Big Show and Mark Henry do will be slower than average, but to be intentionally slow, that was probably a bit much, seeing that the crowd was ready to be done with it early on. They were, like, over the match, like, within the first couple of minutes. In WWE, they may have taken for granted the fanfare surrounding these two after the big moment at Vengeance, and I think the crowd, they took for granted the fact that they were in New York. WWE has this reputation of taking things to the next level in New York, so I'm sure there were a lot of fans wondering if the ring collapsed at Vengeance, imagine what they're going to do tonight. But to be honest, nothing short of lighting themselves on fire would have topped Vengeance, but to some people's disappointment, they didn't set themselves on fire, and we got a lot of hilarious chants like Mae Young and D'Lo Brown as a result. But the match, it did provide some exciting moments, like Henry tackling Show to the barricade, and we can't forget the Big Show elbow drop from the top rope. So all in all, it wasn't a memorable match, but it did provide some exciting moments for me. And we also had Big Show crush Mark Henry's leg in a steel chair after the match. There are some huge developments because of that moment on the next episode of SmackDown. Some must-see stuff. Maybe we'll get to that in the after show, but for now, let's continue on with our Survivor Series review with the next match of the night. The WWE title was on the line as Alberto Del Rio defended versus CM Punk. The straight-edge superstar makes the champion tap out and captures the title for himself. Now, I'm going Christ. Go ahead, Charlie. Let it out.
Okay. This was a great match. I really liked this. They started off slow, and they built to some great false finishes. This is the kind of match that if you see it while it's happening, it's going to be a lot better than when you see it afterwards after you know who won. The crowd was extremely hot for this, very into it. Match was really great for me. I gave it 4 1/4. And I did mark out for the finish. I actually swallowed a lifesaver whole when I stood up and screamed. So, I was not expecting this outcome, and that just made it so much better. And J-Dub, you're a bastard for sitting in the right section.
All right, well, I guess I'll chime in on this one. It is known that I do not like CM Punk. It is known that I've been his #1 hater since 2010. I will continue to call CM Punk a vanilla midget. I will continue to say that he is the best in the world at sucking. But I will be honest. Seeing him win the WWE Championship right in front of me was great. I cheered. I was happy. It was fun. And him jumping into the crowd like a rock star was pretty funny. And at the same time, it made it feel like, wow, he actually cares about the fans for once. But, the match, I liked the match, but I felt bad for Del Rio because after this feud with Punk, where does he go after this? He's not going to fight Cena because if he does that, even if he does that, it will be a filler feud. So where is he going to go after that? He could have been so much better. And I don't know if it was because of Punk verbally burying him on the Raw a couple of weeks ago or it's because WWE just didn't book him right. Maybe a combination of both. But Del Rio could have really done a lot better than where he is. I don't see him recovering. But great match, a lot of counters. Punk really gave it to him. You got to see those enziguris up close. I mean, I really thought he was working pretty stiff. But, great reactions from the crowd. I think the crowd got kind of lost. Because from what I remember, it's whenever CM Punk does a hold, he wrestles a little bit like a heel, but with Randy Orton, it's like he doesn't hold you. He just attacks people's joints. With Punk, he's like an old school wrestler, and that doesn't really work these days because we're so used to seeing people jump off the top ropes and stuff. So he kind of lost me and a lot of other people during the middle of the match, but he picked it up. And seeing Del Rio tap out like a little girl was hilarious. Great match, great fight. And hopefully we'll get a long, nice title reign instead of someone playing hot potato with the belt.
I must say, if CM Punk loses Monday on Raw, I'm officially quitting Raw. So he better win.
Even though I had my reservations about the build-up and both characters, I never doubted for a second that these two guys could pull off a great match, and they lived up to those expectations at Survivor Series. The match was well wrestled and wasn't short on tense or exciting moments at all. I love the moment where Del Rio had Punk in the arm breaker, and it looked like the match was close to being over, but Punk got out of it and ended up winning the match with a submission of his own. Then the celebration after the match where Punk jumped in the crowd. I happened to be right there in the middle of it. It was an amazing moment that put a cap on a great match. And now that CM Punk has fulfilled his quest to win the WWE Championship, he still has other objectives to meet. He's promising fans change we can believe in. Sounds pretty familiar, but let's see how it works this time around. We have a ton of news and follow-ups with Survivor Series to discuss, so the show may spill over into the after show portion. If you guys are listening live and don't want to miss out on the action, make sure you download PWTR on iTunes. If you subscribe to the podcast, every new episode will be automatically downloaded into your iTunes library. That way, you can even listen to us on the go and never miss out on an episode of Pro Wrestling Talk Radio. We've now reached the main event of Survivor Series, The Rock and John Cena versus The Miz and R-Truth. The Rock gets the win for his team with the people's elbow on The Miz.
The Rock has not missed a beat, man. Coming out there, I thought The Rock was going to be rusty, seeing how he hasn't fought in 7 years. But he outshined everyone in the actual fight. Cena looked like a chump. Miz looked like a chump. Truth had no business in the ring. And then this is coming from a big fan of R-Truth. They had no business in the ring with The Rock. Maybe I'm just being a mark, but you could see it. If you were ever a fan of Dragon Ball Z and you remember when they used to charge up all the electricity flowing off their bodies, imagine The Rock being Super Saiyan 5 and John Cena and everybody else just regular Super Saiyans. That's how it felt to me. No one cared about anyone else. And the chance, we all knew Cena was going to get booed out of the building. He did. I was the only one cheering for Cena. I felt bad for him. I even wore my C Nation shirt. I got berated for that, more on the after show. But, Cena got booed out of the building. I honestly think that he kind of hurt the match because when he got there, no one wanted a piece, no one wanted a part of him, But as soon as The Rock got in there, we were all on our feet. It was amazing seeing him fighting there. And to be honest, I think he's actually a better wrestler than what he was 7 years ago.
This is a very awkward match because The Rock was in there. He started the match. He came out, and I was like, holy crap, this is going to be awesome once it started. The Rock tags out, and this became the most boring match on the show. He tagged back in, and it got exciting again, and then it ended. So I'm going to be generous. I'm throwing a 3-star rating on this just because it's a great moment. I would definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. But overall, the match got pretty boring because they didn't care about anybody but The Rock, and it just kind of takes you out of it when that happens. And especially the whole 10 minutes of John Cena getting beaten up was not enjoyable to watch. It was just kind of like, all right, can we get this over with?
This match accomplished everything it was set to accomplish. It got people hyped up before the pay-per-view with the fact that The Rock was having his first match in years. And while the pay-per-view was in progress, it got people watching live in the arena and at home excited to see him in action. The Rock was far and away the star of this match, and to steal a catchphrase from his longtime rival, that's the bottom line. I didn't find Cena or Awesome Truth too compelling during this match. We were supposed to believe that Awesome Truth was so dominant that they beat John Cena's ass for like 90% of the match, yet these were the same two guys that Cena single-handedly made fools of a few weeks ago. I don't think we were given enough of a reason to believe that Awesome Truth was big enough of a threat to warrant the incessant offense that they waged against Cena. So that part of the match really sagged for me, but it was great to see The Rock and be in the arena surrounded by all of that electricity, that electric atmosphere, and like I said, it was all about The Rock, and at the end of the day, I have to deem this match a success.
Well, even if it was pretty boring when Cena was in there, hey, I lost my voice by that point. It was so exciting seeing The Rock in there. But like I was saying before, no one was going to sympathize with Cena, even when he got rock bottom for no reason at all. Let's be honest. Who has been the heel in this feud? Not John Cena, The Rock. All The Rock is coming off as is a bitter man who just comes back. He says he's never going to leave us, but he always leaves us. And who are we cheering for? The Rock. I mean, Cena, I felt so horrible for the man. He gets a rock bottom, and we cheer for that? That's, like, I don't even, he did smirk everything off, but it reminds me of Scott Hall when he did that documentary. I laughed so I don't cry. You can't tell me that John Cena doesn't feel bad. People in his own hometown boo him and tell him they want him to retire. That was just a sad moment, but The Rock did help it, but at the same time, seeing Cena work 300 days a year and for everyone to just not really care about him kind of sucks.
To be completely honest, I don't think he gives a damn about being booed. Like, I think at the end of the day, Cena realizes that as long as he's getting a reaction, it's a success, whether they're cheering for him or booing him, because he's the type of person, he's even said this before, if you don't like him, like there are a lot of people out there who just don't like Cena, doesn't matter what he does, they just plainly do not like him. Even if he puts on a good match, you know, has a good promo or anything, they just don't like the dude, and at this point in his career, he's realized that he has no reason to try to cater to those people. So he
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Even with them not liking him, he's still the number one guy in the company.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because when Cena actually did try to wrestle, when he did the monkey flip combination, people were like, ooh, and then after that they chanted, you still suck.
Exactly.
You still suck.
Yeah. Now that we've gone down the card for Survivor Series match by match, what were your thoughts on the show as a whole?
I loved Survivor Series. Best show I've ever been to. Best pay-per-view I've ever... I don't know if I'd say best pay-per-view I've ever seen, because Money in the Bank was absolutely great. The match quality wasn't as good as Survivor Series, but the storylines were better with Money in the Bank, Punk wanting to leave with the championship belt. And it's funny how things work in a couple of months. Now he is the face of the company, arguably, and now he's holding the belt, but more on that later. But anyway, you know, I thought it was good. The match quality was what made it. The storylines weren't all of that, but there were some bad moments in the whole pay-per-view, because when we're chanting sexual chocolate to Mark Henry, you know, no one's stupid. We know New York, we're a bunch of nerds. We love wrestling a lot. You can't play New York, you know. New York will play you, and they should have knew that from the beginning. No way in the world they should have jobbed out John Morrison at the expense of Zack Ryder. This Zack Ryder thing is sticking out like a sore thumb. I don't care how much you don't like him. They're going to have to do something with him, because he's gotten so popular. Everywhere in that building there is either a CM Punk shirt or a Zack Ryder shirt. Zack Ryder is a complete goofball, but you know what? I like him for that. And they're going to have to push him for it. He's making too much money.
All right, first things first, Money in the Bank had twice as good match quality as this.
Well, come on now. I mean, like, what was other... The Raw Money in the Bank ladder match was average, in my opinion. The SmackDown one was really good, but the Raw one was forgettable.
What on this show wasn't forgettable. The elimination match was not that good on pay-per-view at all. You had the Divas match. You know, that's always good.
Yeah, Divas match was bad. Yeah,
you had Morrison and Ziggler was a good match, but it was just
a
typical opener. You had The Rock and Cena, if you want to talk about match quality, not there. And then you had Punk
Del Rio
match, which was not as good as Punk Cena. So
I don't know. I mean, I guess the atmosphere was better than Money in the Bank. And once again, I don't know how this stuff translates on the TV. I'm going to see if I can watch Survivor Series. But, I mean, when you're actually there, it's a completely different story. Everyone is cheering and yelling. New York, Vince even has admitted we have the best crowd. So it doesn't really matter how boring a match can be. We made that Mark Henry Big Show match fun. And that was hilarious, you know. When people were chanting sexual chocolate, I was like, wait a minute, what? Oh, now I remember that. When he used to come out with Mae Young and stuff, and, you know, I was talking to people about it. It's just a different experience when you're actually there with people. That was the thing with the pay-per-view. The match quality wasn't all that, but it was the experience in general.
You know, I'll have to say the crowd was amazing during Survivor Series, but I did not partake in any of those chants during the Big Show and Mark Henry match, because I was actually patient and I was waiting for the match to evolve and build up, and I was actually giving them a chance. But, you know, as far as the pay-per-view as a whole goes, I think it was a success. It provided some good matches, memorable moments, and the crowd accentuated the show in parts. I'm sure that if I watched the show from home that I would likely have a different opinion, but with me being there live, I thought the show was amazing. I give the match of the night award to CM Punk and Alberto Del Rio. What about you, Charlie?
Yes.
I will agree with that myself. I think Punk versus Del Rio was the more technically sound match. I can't even say that The Rock versus Awesome Truth was. Oh, look at me, Rock Cena versus R-Truth wasn't even. I can't even say that was more exciting, to be honest, because there were boring moments in there. And go figure, it was boring when Cena was in the ring. But anyway, Punk Del Rio, they did a very good job, a lot better than their TV matches. I honestly wasn't too excited for the match to begin with, because I didn't think the title would change, and plus I didn't think that, because we've already seen it on free TV, And that's the problem with the booking. You know, once we see it on TV, why would we have to buy the pay-per-view, especially UFC is coming on around the same weekend and stuff. But, no, that's a completely different story. They did a good job, and that's all that counts.
Yeah, I gave the show a 7 out of 10. It was average. It was fun to sit through, though. I didn't have any problems sitting through it. It was a fun show, but wrestling quality, not there.
So we all agreed that the match of the night was CM Punk versus Alberto Del Rio. We had a poll up on PWFempire.com getting votes from the listeners, and they basically say it was a 2-match show, Rock and John Cena versus Austin Truth and CM Punk versus Alberto Del Rio. But the Rock and John Cena win with 43% of the vote.
Come on.
CM Punk and Alberto Del Rio, they got 39%.
Come on.
Well, there you go. We're going to move on
to... I guess we left out the 10 minutes that the crowd was dead in the middle of the Rock and Cena versus Awesome Truth match.